Hey there, everybody. Welcome. We're live, and I'm very happy to be here again. And so, last week we started up the live streams again, and I did a painting using no blue, just using black and white as my primary blue. So I thought, hey, let's continue the theme of exploring what is possible with just a black and white gray and seeing what kind of colors can be perceived out of just the way I contrast that to the rest of the painting. Just a fun concept of putting opposite colors together. So if you're painting along, I would love to hear about it. Let me know if you're painting along. And we have my wife, Christy, my lovely wife, Christy, in the studio again today. She can just say hello. She's not on camera.
Hi.
And so she's going to be looking out for the comments that are coming in. And in a little bit, we'd love to go over all the places that you're tuning in from. That's one of the biggest thrills for me. It's just learning how far the show reaches. I just love that we can be communicating with those of you who are watching from all kinds of far places from here. So I don't want to waste a bunch of time. I'll start painting, and the colors we're using, I'm gonna ease into my cameras. I still have to get familiar also with the camera. So here's my materials camera. These are the materials I'll be using. Just like last week, I'm using these squeeze tubes, and squeeze tubes, whatever you can find. This right here is the most available kind of squeeze tube, and you put a lot in it. But they have these things at different hobby stores. So that's what I'm using. I'm not even going to put my materials in the usual pots today. I'm just going to squirt a little bit on lid. So this is probably a lot more similar to working with ordinary artist acrylics in tubes, except that the paints are more runny. So wall paints, that's what these are. These are all wall paints. They come out of cans, like grab a can just so you can see. This is a 1-quart can of my bright orange, and that's not a color we're using today, but it's just from the hardware store that also sells house paint. I find it very convenient and very durable for the long term lifespan of your painting as well. I just love using it all together. So, another nice thing when you're done with these, I love reusing things. It just peels right off like that. And so I'll load up my red. We're only using 4 colors today. And so I'm going to get those ready. I found that this was a much faster way for this particular painting, where I'm not really going to work so hard on small details, but I'm going to just try to get the colors just right. And so I'll be mixing and matching all over the place, literally mixing and matching, because when you work with primaries, meaning the colors that I can't make, none of these colors can I make from other colors, so I call them primaries. When I'm working from primaries, I end up having to remix my color every time it dries, which is frequently on the painting. I have to remix it. Bless you. Yeah. We have some dust in the studio. And so that's the 4 colors. So I'll try to give you as good of a view as possible here as we're putting our painting together. So I might stop to refill these. I'll try to keep things on camera as much as possible. Let us know if the audio is out of order. Let's see if I can remember what camera we're on here.
The only thing I've heard so far is that it seems a little dark, and it's true. It is coming out a little bit dark. I'm not sure why. Maybe you can face that.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we can fix it. Here, we got lights there. Like, we can fix that. So wait, I'm going to rely on you to tell me which cameras are dark. So we have this one.
That one's good and light.
That one's light. Okay, so is it this camera that's dark?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to switch to the other. Tell me if the other one is dark as well.
Yeah.
That's just a gray canvas, but this is not white. This is gray. So before we, so does my face look dark here? Let's go here.
No, it just seems a little dim. Can you see?
Yeah, okay, we can brighten the exposure
That's
just
okay.
a touch. Let's paint a little bit, then tell me if it's still too dark. Let's get some stuff, I don't wanna do it wrong, so. We'll start out here, just putting our background on. So this is a layer of the painting that I often come back and adjust if I don't get it right the first time. You know, which is often. Now I painted the back of the canvas this time. If you watched last week, you probably saw a lot of canvas bouncing, and that was oversight on my part. I had forgotten that it's a good way to prepare to put paint on the back side. It stretches it tighter. And so if you do that, then you don't have quite as bouncy of a canvas while you're painting. So I'm just going to go right to the canvas with some white and decide where my sky is going to be. And I'm just going to put it somewhere close to center. It doesn't matter to me if it's a little below or a little above. I guess it's going to be a little above center. Perhaps that's my typical choice. Maybe I instinctively just go a little bit above center. Now this sky is going to be blue, but I don't want to get too blue. We have very limited colors, and one of our primaries is just gray, so I don't want to go intense on the sky. So I'm going to go blue, I'm going to go black, and I think I might add a touch of red, like that, those three colors. And let's see what happens when, because I do like the turquoise color, but I want to reserve as much turquoise as possible for my water. And since I'm only using blue and black as colors, blue and red and black and white as colors, I just don't have a lot of space to get a lot of diversity. So instead of go real turquoise right at the beginning with my sky and make it very, very vivid, I'm going to save room. That's what it's doing. It's saving room, saving color room for my ocean to look like it has enough color in comparison to the sky. So for starters, this is going to look like a pretty boring sky. Blue, black, a touch of red. That's all it is. I got more red than I need there, so put some here. Now, if you want to make comments, ask questions, anything you want to get addressed while we're here, don't be afraid to speak up. I'm going to try to talk a little bit slower. I get nervous, after all these years on camera, I still get a little nervous when I'm showing off. So I tend to talk a little faster and fill up all the sound space.
Do you want to hear where people are tuning in from today?
Ooh, that would be cool. Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, so from the states so far, we have Utah, Kansas, Maine, Florida, Texas, Rhode Island, New York, Arizona, and Alabama. I think I got all of them.
Wow, nice. Good job.
And then other countries that I saw was Canada, Cayman Islands. If you want to invite us to there, that's fine.
Yeah.
The Netherlands. Ariella from the Netherlands, and
Nice.
Vered from Israel, and Puerto Rico. Oh, we have more coming in Seattle, Montreal. Let's see, Wisconsin.
Wow. Man, thanks, guys. Thank you, everyone.
California, Portugal, Atlanta, they're coming in.
Wow.
Colorado, Georgia, Kansas, yeah. Ooh, South Africa. That's the first time I've seen one of those.
South Africa. Wow, yeah, that's not as common for us to see that. Very cool.
What the time it is there.
I don't think there's a single place out there I don't wish I could visit right now.
Yeah.
Christy and I both love to travel. It is on our list of things we want to do in our life. Right now we got kids in school, we got responsibilities here in our little mountain town, but it is our dream. So stay in touch. Let's keep the communication open. We would love to travel.
Las Vegas. All right. We might almost have all the states here represented.
Oh, great. Nice.
And curious, Joe, are you taking paintings today?
Oh, yeah.
To your email to comment on, or no?
Yeah. Well, do you think that it's going to be too difficult? Christy has to do a lot of work for that. It is a hard job. We got to download them.
It's fine. If people will be patient, that's all.
Yeah, we can do it. Let's do it. I would love to see the paintings. I just don't want to put too much workload on Christy here. Still figuring out all the buttons that I kind of poured into her lap as we started.
And if you're painting along, too. We'd
Yeah.
love to see your end
Yeah, we
results
wanna
at
see
the
that.
end.
So the email is the same one that I send the newsletter out on, and that is joe@muraljoe.com. You can use the contact form on my website. Just make sure you put a subject. We want a subject on there so that we can tell what's what.
All right. Oh, we have Australia now. That may be further than South Africa. I don't know.
Ooh, wow, cool. I finally figured out how to calculate the time that it is in Australia, when I'm trying to talk to my friends over there. And I don't want to call them at a terrible hour. You have to just add 5 hours to our time and then switch it to the night or the morning, switch it to the opposite of whatever it is. Finally got it. I got the system down.
Hey, Jacob has a question. Jacob from
Yeah,
the workshop. Hey,
Jacob, thanks for watching.
Yeah, he says, what's the main purpose for not using green or yellow today?
Very good question. And so, I can always rely on Jacob to ask those good questions. Isn't that? We love Jacob's questions. He thinks of things that I have never even thought of. Anyway, that is a good question. And so this helps us to be very fluent in controlling subtle differences. That's the purpose. It's an experiment for fun to see what happens. This is pure white, by the way. So I'm just doing little quarter swirls on the canvas with my brush to get pure white up near the top of the cloud. So leaving out the yellow, which would be able to turn my blues to green, which would be able to turn my red to orange. We're leaving out pretty much yellow and orange and relying on the canvas. So notice how brown the canvas is looking now, just because of being next to this blue. So as I progress, everywhere I put gray, just because of the contrast difference, we're going to be able to perceive that primary color that's missing from the palette. And so the purpose is just to experience that and to become fluent in reproducing it, because oftentimes I needed a very subtle look, and going to my bright colors, I just automatically go too extreme. And learning how to work with black and white can be very helpful in certain circumstances like that. Okay, we got the usual puffy clouds just because I love them so much, and I put a little bit of black at the bottom just to add that. This is where I want my orange. So this is meant to be my warm colors near the base of the cloud. And hopefully as we progress, these clouds are going to look yellower in the brighter areas, just because of the difference between this gray and white mix against the blue. I'm going to use let's see, what camera was that? We got this one. There we go. So I'm zooming in a little tighter. I'm going to show you closer up here. Let's get up here where you can see the technique a little closer. Let's go in here and paint some clouds in our scene here. So in here, I think I'll just put some wispies up in there. Here, let's take black. I don't want pure white. Where I add just a touch of gray, I think I'll get more of that slightly gold look to it that I'm looking for. And my paint kind of dried, so what I'm going to do, this is a simple palette, so I'll just remix the colors that dry. Every time something dries and I still want to blend it, I just have to mix it again. That's it. That's what I'm stuck with. You gotta just make it again every time. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to blend it in here. Let's get a little more of that blue. There we go. That's close enough. And where I do it less than perfect, sometimes I think that makes the painting better, not worse. My inconsistencies, Okay, black and white, here we go. We're going to put a slightly brownish colored, or I should say goldish colored, because it's mostly white. Slightly goldish colored cloud up in there, just some wispies, and I'll put this one coming up and just connecting right to them, like it kind of got blown to the side there. Like this. There we go. I heard myself making the sound effects again. I do that because it just gets me in the flow. I'm imagining the wind blowing, it becomes more interactive, and if I can get more excited about my work, I think I do a little bit better job. All right, let's put clouds on further back. I kind of like the way that overlap looks. So I'm going to put a touch of shadow on this one to just bring that shadow edge right over here, like that. And then let's start putting I don't even know what this is going to be up here. Let's just put white and see what happens. Skies are kind of fun because if you just get a color palette that really works, then you end up having all kinds of accidents that look like something. Here we go. Let's put a cloud coming down from behind here.
Jean Mazur maybe says, did you say whether the black is warmer or cooler?
No, I didn't say that. And so that's a good question. I know that there are some different shades of black out there. Now, I have never found that consequential. Is that a word? Is that a word? I've never found that to be a big difference maker in my work compared to what it does side by side with vivid color. So the differences of whites, the differences of blacks is like a very minor difference to me. And so I tend to ignore that. So I actually don't even know. If I had to guess, I would say this black, it looks like it's a bit on the warmer side. It looks like, when you add white to it. But I want you to know that I'm gonna take a minute here, switch to the other camera because I want to show you something. I want to show you that last week's painting was done with the exact same black. So whether this is a warm black or a cool black, here I would say this is a warmer color. But here, I would say that this exact same black is a little bit on the blue side. So you see, to me, the comparison, when I use the black against a warm colored painting, it became the blue. When I use that exact same black against the blue colored painting, it becomes this more brownish color. So these are that's kind of a crazy thing to think about, that the black on these clouds. So that cloud right there is the same. I'm gonna use the other camera. I like looking at this. That cloud is the same mix as this sky right here. That cloud, same mix as this sky. See, these are the same color. And so what it's up against is my point. Okay, let me get back to my painting. That was last week's. I think that's what makes this such a fun experiment, because we get to see the power of comparisons. All right, this will be a fun place to put a cloud.
Mary Chulik says, I've never mixed colors on a canvas before watching Joe paint. I tried it and I find that it is fun and freeing.
Sweet. Wow, thank you for sharing that, Mary. That is really cool. Yeah, I agree. Freeing. I don't use it. It's not my method all the time, but I would describe it exactly like you did, as freeing. It is fun. When I have a lot more restricted requirements to the painting I'm working on, then I might change my method.
So you get this question a lot, but do you use house paint for almost all your paintings, whether it's on canvas or a wall?
I sure do, yeah. Just to get the hang of it, just to know what it's like. I worked with acrylics in tubes and oils in tubes, just because I want to be able to say with confidence the differences and the similarities. So I have done lengthy projects with both of those things, but I still prefer to just go back to the house paint, because there's no loss of any quality, in my opinion. I don't know why I just put red in there. I just thought it might be cool. I just thought that red in that cloud might be a neat look. Let's just see if it is. It's just something for fun. I don't have some rationale behind it. I just thought, hey, a little bit of purple shadows combined with that blue on the undersides. If I see, I guess some of my thinking is if I see all of the color spectrum I have available, then my neutral is more likely to look like what's left, what isn't using. So I'm gonna take this purple I just made, and I'm just gonna just stab it right up in. See that cloud I made at the beginning? I'm gonna take that same thing. That mix I just made down low in the picture, I'm just putting a little bit of it on here just to get a touch of that more purpley color. Then I'll grab my white right here and blend it in. So like I said, I'll be going back and forth and wherever I get inspired to do so, I'll be looking for things that I can do to this picture. Here's a fun thing to do. So I'll go down here and just mix my grayish cloud color. Let's go white. And let's put some red and blue on there. A little bit of black. So this is like my cloud, my sky color, my cloud shadow color. They're kind of the same in this paint. Again, I'm going to go up here. And I'm going to, am I on the right hand? Let me make sure. Yep, I'm on the right. So we can put little clouds. I love doing this. Little clouds in front of big clouds. Let's just go like this. Make a real distinct outline shape that stretches through multiple edges so that it can't be mistaken for one of the shadows on that cloud. I have to break the edges enough, continuously that it pops out in the front. Same color. I'm grabbing it again. I'm going to go over here and put it on this side. I think it'd be fun to put down there. Real little ones. This is just a trick to get more depth in a sky. It separates layers. It also puts smaller things further away. Just adds that element of size change, scale. All right, I'm liking that sky pretty well.
A couple more questions about your the house paint. Does it matter whether it has primer in it?
I think it's better if it doesn't. A lot of all of the current paint manufacturers, they're moving to a labeling. They're moving to a marketing strategy of saying that the paint now includes primer, because it used to be that you would have to buy all those things separate. But whenever you add an extra ingredient to paint, other ingredients have to be less, or else you end up with such a concentrated formula that it's not spreadable. It gets more dense every time you add new ingredients. So, just like any recipe, if you keep adding one ingredient, it eventually would take over all the other ingredients. So it weakens the paint. Primer is not known for having a hard, durable finish. It's known for adhesion and blocking stains. So if you're adding that into the paint, then your paint probably has not as hard of a finish and the qualities that you might look for in ordinary paint. So if I can, I would prefer as simple of a formula as possible, not the paint plus primer. But that doesn't mean it's bad, because remember, we're comparing it to artist paints that are really just pigment and acrylic, a little bit of the acrylic base, however that's made, and it's super simple. So those probably have the least durability of anything, because they're not intended to be wiped down on a regular basis and in contact with hands or feet.
So do you ever at the finish of your painting add a little accent with oil paint or a highlight?
I like a long time ago, before I was doing this as a profession, I actually did go to oils because it was so much easier to do the details. But as I got more comfortable with the water-based medium, I just kept everything in the same. But you can do that. You can go oil right on top of these acrylics. It'll stick. It'll work well. I would not go the other way around. Not that anybody would have a reason to do that, but water-based on top of oil tends to not stick very well. All right, this is going to be my closer color. So I just did black and blue. Now my blue, kind of like we discussed, what is the actual hue of the black? Maybe it's just a little brown, maybe it's just a little blue. I don't actually know. But This phthalo blue, I do know, is the turquoise hue. So when you add white to this blue, and you saw it in the sky, down here I'm going to paint water. And so just the example that I'm talking about, right down here, this blue, when I add white, turns very turquoise. And so this is the blue that I think for a painting like this is the easiest to make, like illuminated waves, things that look translucent, that glow look. But if you have a cobalt blue or some other blue that doesn't turn turquoise, or a phthalo blue that has more of the violet hue, it's still going to work. Because what we're going to do is just add red where we want things to be less green, and then we'll get our difference that we're looking for. You'll see what I mean as I progress. So what I'm going to do to get this green here, this blue worked really well for a distant, slightly green. I call it green, but it's just the greenest color in the painting so far. And that is my distant island, and I'm going to make some purple ones behind it. And so we're going to go red and blue, because purple is just a nice go-to color. I got to refill my white down here.
Jay Mitchell gives a, hey Jay, he gives a tip. He says it's cheap to get paint in small containers at Sherwin-Williams called Color to Go, because they're talking about how expensive a gallon of paint is these days.
Yep, that's true.
Paint, Color to Go.
Yep, that's good. And I have noticed that other companies also have similar offerings like that, sample-sized containers that are branded differently a lot of the time, not as their higher quality. And a lot of the time, I really think that that's nothing more than branding. If I was betting money on it, I'd say it's probably the same formula with a different sticker. Because in a factory, I think that's probably an easier process. But I'm just guessing. I don't know. Man, there's so many things I say on camera that I think if somebody ever does try to sponsor me with products, they're going to see me as such a liability. They'll look back at all my old content and say, what are we going to do about all this trash talking about our sales methods? I say that kind of stuff all the time, but I want to preserve it. I want to preserve the integrity of being able to get an ordinary perspective here, not somebody that's making money off what I'm saying. Okay, I'm going to, we're painting off camera. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, let's go over here. So I'm just using purple, nothing other than blue, red, and white right here. And all I did was put my more concentrated purple up here. And then I added the white, and I'm just mixing it along. So whenever you do this effect, first time I saw this effect was actually Bob Ross, watching him on PBS Saturday morning. Just made it more white as you go down. But you don't want to follow the outline of the hill in front of you. You don't want to follow this outline because it gives you a strange effect that doesn't feel 3D. You want to pretend that that's not there and make your blending happen consistently at the same height as you go. Think of it as going behind your closer layer, not around your closer layer. Okay, so there we go. We got our distant hill. It's going to get darker as it dries, so I'll wait before I try to perfect it too much. See how much darker it's going to get. I like the effect of it. At some point, I like to merge the two layers together. So this might be fun to take my close layer, that is the black and blue, and a little bit of white, and then I'm going to merge that with my red and my red and blue for the other layer, and then I'm going to go to my white. Okay, there's all my colors. I'm going to go like this. Okay, we need more white right here. So let's get the white.
Joe Melanie Culver says, I noticed Joe isn't using his large brushes today, and he's actually remembering to change them out. Is that true?
I don't know what you mean by change them out, but I'm not using large brushes. There is an important difference here. My large brushes, as they have larger bristles, the paint will dry. If I'm using smaller amounts, applying less at a time, well, the fat bristles will get dry paint on the tips of them. And so I don't get as smooth of strokes. I love to have the smoothly flowing brush strokes, when I do this. So the heavier bristles is much harder to get that. Okay, that's a good question. Thank you for observing that and asking. Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit of highlight on these hills too. This will be fun. Some white right there, some black right here. Here, let's do the blue and the black. Let's get some blue and black mix. We'll just mix them down here like this. Let's get more of that black. This is my the color of my closest hill. I'm gonna put it on the right side like that. Then pure white on the other side, but it's not gonna stay pure white. It's just gonna stay barely lighter than the other side. And I'll just put ridges coming up like this. I'm just putting that white along paths. See, path here, maybe down there a little. I got kind of messy down here. Just a little suggestion of some valleys that are coming down. And we'll take the valleys and kind of make them swoop up into the light a little bit. Like that. Tiny little differences that can make my distant hill be just a bit more interesting. Okay, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, can we please just get to the water part? We're going to do that. That's what I'm thinking too. All right, put some white in there. There we go. I like that. A little bit of a highlight. Sometimes I'm not sure exactly how to mix my highlight until I see the paint start to dry. Once some of this starts to dry, I have a better grip on whether or not I'm in the right zone with my blending. Okay, I'm just tapping these areas that look like they're a little bit out of sync with the other colors. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to start on some water. So let's go down here, and I'll just leave the camera zoomed in like this. And I'll start with my blue base. So let's put the blue on here. And so.
Can I ask a quick question from Carol Wilhelm?
Let's hear it.
Sorry about my pronunciation of names. It says when I see the lines of the canvas. Wait, when I paint, I see the lines of the canvas in spots. Does that always need to be corrected, or is that normal?
Well, I think I know exactly what you're saying. So I work heavy. I have a lot of confidence. No, I'm not bragging, but the confidence to put a lot of paint on there makes it flow smoothly, and I get smoother brush strokes because of that. So what you're talking about is this effect where I'll go over here and just do a light. So if you're working kind of dry, and the more you work, the more paint that gets on there and dries, the faster it dries the paint because of the chemical reaction. So you get a lot of this skipping. You get a lot of the canvas. I'm not going to call it bad or good. It's just a look. But because I'm trying to quickly blend smooth strokes, that's my goal, is to have those smooth strokes with the method I'm using. I work heavier in order to avoid that. I have a little more control over the exact shapes I'm making by working heavier.
How much paint is too much paint?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. That's where you want to. It's too much when so I'll go to the point of too much. That's a good question. I like that. So if I put that level of paint, it's going to stay wet for a good long time. But then if I go in here and start trying to make some reflection strokes like this, then I might have a little bit of problem with the gradients. It's so heavy that it's leaving more streaking than I would like. You see how it's beating up and leaving real heavy streaks? The style of it's actually kind of cool as I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, it's not a bad look at all. But it might sag, interfere with the exact brush strokes I'm trying to make. So that, objectively speaking, perhaps would be my threshold of too heavy, when I start to lose control. But that means you can get really heavy. You can actually get pretty heavy with paint before you start losing control. So I don't know. How many mils that would be. You know, in the paint industry, we think of it in mils. They actually have specifications on how many mils you're supposed to put a layer of paint on, but I've forgotten all of those specs. So, you know, I'm about right here. This is my ideal. And so I'm going to zoom way in on this, just so you can see. All right. I think that that's such a valuable question. So let's let the camera really focus on this. Let me stop shaking it. Sorry, shaky hands. I'm going to let go of the camera. Okay. Now I think you can probably get a better understanding at that level of zoom. So I'm just going to keep, boy, I've been painting on this area for so long. It's starting to get kind of tacky. So I really am working heavy, but what I do is I'm constantly making it the same thickness across my work area. It's not super heavy in one spot than in another. I really try to have it be even as quickly as possible. But you can see as I'm moving this around, it really is pretty heavy. You can see it beating up on the brush like that. So hopefully that gives you a little bit better answer. Okay, I'm going to zoom back out so you can see the picture. Here, let's go like this. And we'll start making some waves on here. So here's how you make some cool looking waves. All this is blue and white, and whatever colors were left in my brush. I'm not worrying about that. So I'm just taking red. I just dip the corner into red right here. And then we'll go back up. And with that corner, I'll actually start painting my reflections. So watch this technique. I'm going to put a bunch of reflections with this stroke that I always use. And I'm going to put in that smiley shape. It can just be a level line too. You can just go level. You don't want to get so smiley that you create, real extremely shaped waves. I think leaning to the subtle side is a better look. So notice that this leaves bluer high points. So the waves that are left behind would be the faces that look into the water, and I get this brighter color near the top. And in these areas that are these smiley shaped brush strokes, these are the low spots that will be darker. So now I'm ready to put reflection on that. My reflection is just going to be black and white because I don't have very many colors here. So let's just mix a reflection color. Let's go over here. And it's okay for red to get in there too, black, white, because there's going to be red already in that mix. Let's just grab the black and white, go back up here, and same thing with just the corner of the brush. I'm going to go down wherever I see the high point of a wave. I'm going to start there and kind of swoop down along the sides of it, like that. Now I'll go back down and get more of my paint here. And I'll go down the other side right here. If there is another side, you don't always see one right directly across from you. Okay, let's go back up here and see what we can find. Here's a red area, look at that. Let's just put some little strokes in there. So I'm going to stop switching cameras. You can see what I'm doing. I'm just dipping I'll go one more time so you can see how I'm just swiping across like this to get the corner. It's just reloading the corner. And once in a while, I'll need to give my brush a rinse, dry it off, get excess paint out of it. And so now I'll just find my dark water areas and work from uphill to downhill. I just kind of work my way downhill to get some nice looking reflection. So here's a high point. I'm going to work down the side of this wave like that. And I cannot tell you just how many hours I have put into, and it's just because it's where my mind goes. I'm not trying to brag about anything here. It's just what I like doing. But I just burn up the time. A whole day can go by while I'm just staring at a repeating pattern of waves rolling in on the beach wherever we go.
Yeah, that's true. He stares a lot. You sit and stare a lot.
Yeah, Christy always has to ask me, did I lose you? Yeah. That's one of the less pleasant sides of my hyper attention to shapes and colors and all that, Easily distracted. It's okay, there's some other things that matter here. Could you Pay attention. Yeah, like when you're driving, you don't want to be overly distracted about all the shapes and colors on the landscape as you're trying to stay on the road. Sometimes that can be a problem. Okay, so now my paint has dried. It's time to move on to another area. And with this method, I'm just going to overlap in the next area. So I'll give my brush quick rinse right here, and it's not a thorough rinse. It's just a quick rinse. And then I'll go back to my blue, do that same base with a little bit of white in it. So let's put a bunch of blue. I want to make sure the area is a size that is manageable. So you don't have to work in the same size area that I'm working in. You can do real little areas to start with. That might be easier on you. When you add the white to it, it suddenly covers so much better. You'll see that I'm adding more blue. I went a bit heavy on that white. There we are. So the blue at first is like, oh man, it's not even covering my canvas. It seems kind of hard to work with. But then as soon as you start mixing other colors, there's something about like opposing colors mixing that creates better coverage. I'm not sure why that happens, but it does seem to happen. I'm putting my red down again, and it's just kind of like painting the reflection with red. And all I'm doing is just covering it with enough strokes to get my darker color. And I'll keep going over it until I don't really see the red color so much anymore. Like this. And this is what causes any blue you're working with to seem more turquoise as it rises up out, or to seem illuminated rather. It causes it to move toward violet as it goes to the darker areas, which is a very, very helpful pattern to create the effect of illumination. So just use that red. I'm not going to go much lower than this in the picture because I want to save that for my gray to get yellower, more goldish tones of maybe the sand starting to show up under the water. So maybe this will be as low as I go with this wave effect. And then as it progresses, it's going to be pretty simple to come back and edit the waves, put new ones in, take out waves. This is a technique that can just be overlapped. So I'll go here, rinse out my brush. I don't know why I did that. I didn't actually need to. All I'm going to do is go to the white and black. Maybe a little bit more black here. Painting for me is so therapeutic and I dare say philosophical. I have all these thoughts about the way things work. I get all inspired about it. And so something I think is really fun about these waves is I was painting off camera again. I gotta stop doing that.
Oh, sorry, I was supposed to tell you about that. Brian's missing today, so we don't have anyone on the camera. Yep. Maybe you said that.
That's okay. No big deal. You guys, if you see me painting off camera, you can let me know. I won't be mad. I'll be thankful. Okay, so for the same reason that the light bounces off of the surface that's coming down, the light also bounces off of the surface as it's trying to escape the water. So the light under the water bounces back down, and that's why we can paint the dark reflection before we paint the light reflection right over the top of it. That's one of those statements that'll get a, wait, what? When I do a workshop, I'll say those things, So I'll see if it's interesting enough to generate any questions, but that's something that I find fascinating myself. Okay, or just putting reflection wherever I put that darker color.
Is that what you call a smiley shape? There's a couple questions about that.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely making the smiles.
They weren't sure what you're meaning by that.
Yep, this is kind of open smile, the smiley shape is this stroke right here. I'm gonna go over here to the unpainted area and show you in slow-mo. We're gonna go whoop. That's it. That's the O mile shape. See, put two eyes. There we go. I had to do the sound in slow-mo too.
Yeah, that's how he did. Let's see who. Sorry, I had a question that I lost it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Take it.
Dale Hawkins says, "Can you repeat the comment about the light, please?"
Yeah. Okay. Good. I just didn't want to be like that guy that's about my own thoughts if nobody else cares about it. But for the same reason that this reflection that I'm currently painting is bouncing. You know, reflection is the light coming down and then bouncing back up like a ball bouncing off the water, for lack of a better description. The reflection I'm painting now is like that. Well, there's also reflection happening on the other side of this exact surface where light is trying to come up out of the water and bouncing back down when it hits the air. And so these darker areas I painted with red, I made them darker by adding red to the blue rather. Those are the same areas. So the same areas that reflect up are also reflecting down back into the water. And so you will get a darkening effect as well as the reflection on the surface. And so when sometimes you get a real fantastical looking pattern. I just like that word, fantastic. That has like a good mood to it, you know. And you get a real vibrant, exaggerated, amplified look by painting both of those things. First, the darker, like I did when I darkened the blue with the red, and then coming in and adding the light reflection right over the exact spots as it's still wet and blendable. I just have grown to really like that look. See, there's a lot of red right here, so I'm going to put a lot of reflection right there. I guess this will just be a smoother spot, or maybe just a more angled spot on the water, maybe a bigger edge of a wave, but it has more red, so I'm going to put more of my reflection. Kind of made it worse when I did that. I might have to let that dry and see what can be done with that.
Are you saying the darker areas that we see that you painted with the red are parts of the sea floor we are seeing bouncing off the underneath surface of the water? That's from Jacob again.
Not necessarily. It just I can think of 2 reasons it's darker, maybe 3, but in the end, the only thing I'm pointing out is that the surface is reflective, both from the underside of the surface and from the top side of the surface. It reflects light back down that's coming up. So, you know, sunlight comes in, you get all that beautiful turquoise illuminated wavy color. Maybe not so turquoise in this painting, but you know, you're on the beach, you're looking at that beautiful color in the sunlit waves. That's coming up out of the water after the sun penetrates the water, and then it's bouncing off, scattering, and then you're seeing some of it come back out. It gets filtered to the pretty colors. And so a lot of that gets blocked. It reflects back down. And as well as any light, well, all the light that's down there, it's for the most part coming from the sun shining down. So, you know, as it's illuminating everything just like it does everywhere else above the water. So where you're seeing more light is where you're looking more directly through the waves. And then, you know, where you have more reflection because the angle is more parallel to your line of vision, it's blocking the light coming out of the water, it's blocking the light coming down to the water, blocking both. Okay, now I'm just putting white right over the top of my blue and red mix that I just put along this horizon because I like that more purpley colored horizon. It's not always there. When you go out to like the Florida Keys, that was amazing. You know, we saw those for the first time a couple years back. And I noticed the turquoise water goes out so far, I don't really see this more purple horizon in a lot of those areas, but I'm just choosing to put it here because I like the way it looks. A purple horizon on the water, just like that. I'm going to go a little higher because my line is not super level. So we'll go over here, mix some more of this blue and red. There we go. It's pretty much 50-50 to get that purple. There we go. And then I'm just gonna put white right on top of that. Not a lot though. I want to keep it dark enough. Keep it dark enough that my light colors still look nice and light. And then I'm just two-handing my brush because I don't have super steady hands. Like this, I don't need a bunch of waves and texture back here. You know, I don't need a lot of that. I just need the right colors. Right here. Okay. Yeah, I like that. That's cool. It's level, so you know I'm gonna now that I've got a level line, I'm gonna adjust the rest of the picture to go along with it. All right, we'll give you a look at the whole picture there so far. This is what I'm headed toward. I'm gonna put more water coming in here. Same technique. I need more of my blue. Let's go down here and reload my blue. Like that. Got a good amount of my black and white there. And I'm putting the base down again. Let's go up here and start painting this area. Let's come over here and paint this left side. And so I'll put just a little bit of white. That's going to make it cover. And it's going to give me a bit more of a turquoise hue. This, and then we'll take our, you know what I could have done? I didn't think of it, but now that I've said it, if I really wanted to get more detail, I'm going to add another layer. I'm going to add another layer of difficulty to the technique. Here's my bright turquoise. Okay, that's going to be my glowing bright waves. We'll put a few dabs, you know, and wherever I have a higher wave, it's a great place to put that brighter turquoise. Right in there, you know. These are good places for it. But to do that from the start, I'm going to bright first and then dark reflections with the blue. Now I'm using just my pure blue here and doing my reflection shapes, doing my little smileys. And I'm going to not blend those with the white. So I'm going to get perhaps and enhance. Now this is what you got to get real confident with the techniques and work fast to accomplish this one because multiple steps with fast drying paints can get a little bit stressful. So this is not needed. This is not needed. I didn't do this on the first go with this painting, but I'm feeling like, hey, I'm ready to try to level up here. So I'm going to give it a shot. Okay, get my smaller waves up higher in the picture to get perspective. Now, wherever I see the darker blue, that's where I'm going to go with the red. And I'm not even worrying about the overlap. I can just bring that all together by just using the same technique. So wherever I already have the blue, that's going to be the red. I'll keep going back to it and just grabbing, distribute. You know, you do a stroke over the red, do a stroke over the blue, over the red, over the blue. This is how you can redistribute from where you first laid it down.
Shay White has a question. They said, I live near the ocean in Maine and trying to mimic it in painting is tough. Like when the wind pushes the waves into each other. Can you demonstrate how to capture a wind peak? And then someone says, do you mean like a white cap peak? He said, not so much a white cap, but near the shore where the wind pushes it up into another wave.
Oh, wow, that sounds really cool. Well, I'm not sure that I know how to do that. I'm going to be honest. And, you know, perhaps I can do a mild version of that in this painting and keep that. That sounds like it deserves a good amount of research. I would want to really look into that and see exactly what you're talking about so I can give a good answer, not a guess. But, I'll take a whack at my first impression on this painting after I finish up this area. So what I'm going to do next is what we've been doing. I'm going to go to, that is a good, I like those in-depth questions. That's great. Those are the kind of questions I'm going to address very thoroughly in the school that I am creating, in the process of creating. It's not launched yet. But my intent is to have a constant stream of in-depth training videos. And you can even take a look at the website. The website is called Super Peer. I'll be launching on that website a bunch of training courses and regularly streaming live and answering questions from subscribers, students, those who are keeping up. So it'll be a regular stream of interaction, not just one-off projects, so that all questions get answered and we can constantly build on the progress. So stay in touch, keep your eyes open for that launching in the near future. I find that there are so many great questions that I am just eager to answer, but I cannot cram them all into my public free live streams without, I suppose I was willing to take on a little bit more stress, I could give it a shot, but it gets difficult. Okay, I'm putting that same reflection on there, just black and white. I just keep going down here, getting my black and white mix, just right into the colors I've already got because they're mixing anyway. And then finding my darkest, purplest, reddest areas. And this effect I think is good without a lot of detail. It doesn't need a ton of detail. I just, once I realize that I can do the details, sometimes I get a little obsessed with it. But it doesn't mean that it needs to be there. Sometimes it actually looks better, I think, without it.
You say Super Peer?
Super Peer, that's it. SUPERPEER. Like super friend or buddy. Peer as in that definition. Yeah, and I was really impressed with the ethics of the site. When it comes to business and things to partner up with, I've declined a lot of things that come to my email. A lot of so-called opportunities, let's help each other out kind of emails. And this one was from people directly involved in the building process that were willing to give their personal time and talk to me face to face. And it's, just people of good character that are super interested in building a superior platform that's helpful. It gave me a real good feeling. So
and when do you think that this is going to happen? Maybe in the beginning of the year?
Well, I'm hoping for before Christmas, but I can't count my chicks before they hatch. There's not much more to do to get it all in place. Videos are recorded, infrastructure's in place, but there's some things I need to do to get the plan in order. It takes planning. I don't want to drop the ball when people sign up, and make sure that everything that people are signing up for can be delivered in a timely, effective manner. So that's an important thing. So that's what I'm working on, is really just the scheduling and designing of the course. But a lot of the recording process is finished, so we're close. Okay, so now, yeah, I would love for you to sign up. This is, this is the thing that I hope to be the answer to the unanswered problem I have of unanswered questions. Your unanswered questions are my unanswered problem. I want those to get answered. I want to be able to have all my research be available and without completely exhausting me and my family. It's hard. Okay, all I'm doing is just using the same colors I did before to just blend the horizon in like this. Okay, has anybody sent anything in on the emails?
Yep. We have two so far.
Okay, cool.
From Sean and Hazel.
We could just take a break and look at a couple. Or we could save them until the end. What do you think?
I just reminded people they could do it.
Yeah, okay, let's wait a little bit. Let's wait a little bit. Oh, and I starred Zolfies
Seems like the internet's down, maybe.
Uh-oh. Don't want that. We do have that. If we have, if we have a problem with the signal, then we'll make sure that we pause and continue at the first opportunity. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is start blending into the foreground here. I've got some good colorful waves. The next color, I need some more gold colored sand, so I'm going to go right in here and start putting that in. So this water is going to be more calm. So primary blue right there. I'm going to add black and white to that. So here's black, and I'll put that below the blue. And here, wrong camera again. Here we go. The white is going to lighten the black and give me my gray color. And that little bit of blue will hopefully turn it just a touch green. And we're just going to blend that right into these closest waves, like this. I'll use my same kind of swooping shapes. They're all over the beach. I definitely oversimplify a beach scene in doing this because it's fast and it's fun. There's so many different shapes of waves. I wouldn't want to try to pretend like this is the way to do water. It's a fun way because it looks good for the amount of effort it takes. Okay, so I just blend that color up into those closest waves. Look, I love that gradient. So there's mostly blue at the top, right where my waves are. And this looks like it should be a turquoise wave, so I'm going to grab some white. So this is what I'm talking about. I can just blend into areas, where I see this meeting up with another wave I painted, like right here. I'll just put that same light turquoise color. It's over here. It's right here. See, I've got these turquoise waves popping up. And I'll just bring it right up to that, like that. Okay, and then I'll get my dark blue right there. Bring that dark blue right down. That's this right here. And then I'll use my black and white underneath that. So let's get the black and white under that. I just grabbed some white. I'm going to slope this beach a little bit. We'll make it come down, like the right side of this picture. Let's catch that. Get down here. Here on the right side, I'm going to make it a little bit closer to me so that it's just not going straight across. And I just grab my low colors, bring them up high, high colors, bring them down just until it's nice and soft. There we go. I wonder if I could even take just a touch of red while this is still wet. I don't know if it's wet enough, but let's give it a shot. A little bit of red. I only got a tiny bit. But right there, because I want to put some reflection under this wave. So I'll also put some blue. Remember how I did my dark red and blue to get the darker water? So this is a good spot to just plug that in. Black and white for the reflection. Right here, let's grab some of that. And it's got a little red in it, but that's okay because there was red up here anyway. There we go. And I kind of build a large brushstroke shape out of small ones. I put a long one, and I put short ones. I like to build large shapes out of little shapes. I get a more organic look that way. And then I'll start putting reflection color across the top, maybe a touch of red to separate it from the underwater color. Just a touch of red, I think, will be enough. So here's my mix. See how I just added this touch of red? I'm going to use this to put reflection on that close shore and just put soft waves. I'm going to zoom out here for a minute so you can see the whole picture. There we go. So now you can see just the context I'm working with. So where this is coming closer to the beach, the waves aren't big, and I'm just going to put very soft I'm going to go over these a few times so that they, maybe from both directions too, so that they just fade out and become very smooth ripples instead of the big waves that are further out. Just enough to get the look there. And I think that just that tiny touch of red that I put in there hopefully will separate that from looking like my more underwater sandy color, because there's not that much difference. They're very, very similar. I want to blend these a little more. There we go. Let's go over. See, I got these hard edges here. I'll grab my dark blue and make this just a bit more subtle. It's not that I have to find every little spot in a painting, but when you see me really slave it over tiny areas, it's because I've identified that tiny area to be a potential distraction. When someone's eyes fall right there, I don't want it to be a distraction. So when you're able to eliminate the distractions in a piece, I think it just gives it a better first impression. Maybe that's the right way to say that. And it's just a matter of opinion. I looked at that spot, I said, no, those are kind of stark. They weren't blended very well. They stood out from the others. And if I'm not looking at them, it doesn't even matter if I'm just looking at the whole picture. No biggie. But then when my eyes drift over there, and believe me, I've had customers that find that exact spot when you say, oh, it's a great picture, it doesn't need it. You're the only one that sees it. Yeah, that's what the non-paying customers say. That's my experience. Okay, I'm putting a little bit of red on that blue. And I love that effect. Look at that. Even before I put the reflection, I love the way that looks. That dark on top of the light. So here's my black and white mix again. And I want to be careful not to go too light with this too. It's very tempting to get vivid, contrasty reflection spots, but if you do that, there's no room for highlight. So be careful about over highlighting. Leave yourself plenty of room. Just like I was talking about at the beginning of the painting, leaving room with intensity, leave room with brightness as well. So I keep these dark. It's been kind of quiet over there in the chat.
I'm sorry.
No,
Something came up on mine that said chat disconnected. And so I'm testing it right now.
Okay.
I'm not seeing anything past I love this guy, but someone loves you. Galleon. Okay, I can't read that. So I'm looking at my phone to see if more things are coming in, and I'm just missing them. I think that somehow this got disconnected from the chat, but I don't know how to reconnect.
How's the video? Is the video streaming?
It looks like it.
Just like that? Okay. As long as you're still seeing me. So maybe we just lost the chat, but not the video.
I don't know why though, so
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. It's not your fault.
I'm gonna look at the
yeah, okay.
I'm gonna look at my phone comments here.
Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm just gonna blend this last spot over here. See, I've got a rough spot there that I want to come down to my beach. And yeah, I was thinking about it. Do I want to do that? Yeah, I want to do it. So we're gonna put my blue. We're gonna put my white.
Someone asked, and I didn't. I don't know if this was earlier or later because I don't know how to read these. But why did you paint the canvas gray?
Oh, good. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
And Jay tells me the video is still going, so we're good there.
Okay.
For some reason, I think I'm just missing the chat.
Yeah. Okay. Hopefully that gets back online.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you. That's very good. Gray is easier to cover with many colors. If I go pure white, that's easy to cover with white. But then when I do darker colors, especially that blue, you saw that blue is kind of thin and shows what's under it. So gray is just a happy medium that gets covered more easily by a wider range of colors. So it's really just a preference, not super important to do that, but I've found it more pleasant to work with, more enjoyable to be painting over a gray background than a white background. By the way, did the lighting problem correct? I'm curious, are we still looking at a low exposure?
I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
For me, the painting looks pretty good, but
Okay.
sorry, I'm not getting people's comments,
No,
so I'm not sure.
No problem.
Keep saying disconnected.
Huh.
But that's okay. I'll read them. Jay just sent me the most recent one, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in the chat fine, so I'm just missing it. So
Oh.
sorry.
Well, we can always catch you on the next one. We're going to do this again next Monday, for sure. And then we'll take a break for Thanksgiving. We got a fun trip planned. We got stuff to do for Thanksgiving, but we'll have a good old time next week doing the same thing. So those of you that can join us.
Carol says, I got to hand it to you, Joe. Your concentration on creating while answering questions is incredible. I couldn't do that for money. Kudos again.
Thank you. That's very nice.
I know Joe said, give me more questions while we're talking, like 4 times as many questions. I'm like, are you sure? He said, it doesn't throw me off. So
Yeah. Well, sometimes I actually feel more focused if I can have a good, lighthearted conversation about it. Then I feel more focused on the project.
And do you share your replays? Yes, these are on YouTube.
Yep, this is being recorded as we speak. It's going to be replayed. I'm sure that you can backtrack and play it right now.
To make the water less choppy, do you make the waves longer?
You make them longer and the strokes softer, more blended, not so not as visible. Just blend the strokes in more. That's really all you have to do. Is just blend the strokes in more, spread them apart, because think of waves that are just not as intense, and so you have not only a softer curve to it, but maybe a little more space in between them. So you just do both things. Just make everything more subtle. So I'm just gradually adding more black and white to my mix as I'm going down lower in the painting, to where I'll have almost pure black and white, but still just a touch of the blue. And I'm just putting a slight angle, sloping it up a little bit as I get to the left side of my picture here. Like this. Here we are. There we go. Doesn't that look nice? Man. I just love what the colors are capable of. I'm not trying to compliment my own work. I'm just saying, this is what I love, is seeing it work. Just seeing the things work together, and it's like you can just put these colors next to each other and this magic thing happens. I love that. Okay. Just a tiny bit of blue here and there. I'm going to add a little bit of water. See, I just dip my brush in that water. There's not a lot of it on there, but I'm going to grab just a tiny bit of blue. And the reason I dipped in the water is because this paint's thin, it's drying fast. I put it over the top of somewhat already dry paint, which makes it dry even faster. So it's getting a little more difficult to blend. So that was blue and black right there, just like the rest of it. A little bit of blue, a little bit of black, and then white to lighten it. My ratio is going gray to blue. So the black and white are increasing as it comes down, and the blue decreasing as it comes down. That's what I'm doing. Then I'm just trying to mix in some streaks so that it's not quite perfect. See that blue right there? I'll add a touch of black so it's not just pure blue, and I'll just put little streaks of it.
Okay, I'm back up on a different computer.
All right, it's for
the live chat. So they're saying the lighting's good. I'm sorry I missed a couple of your comments, but Next Monday is Paula Neary's birthday. She thinks
all
it
right,
would be fun to see another live on that day. Are you going to do another one
Sweet.
Monday?
Next Monday, that's it.
1
Same
o'clock.
time, 1 o'clock. You got
Okay.
it.
Mountain Standard Time.
Thanks to Christy, this is a lot more possible. You can whip these things out. She comes in and she handles this technical side for me. This is great.
Maybe next week I'll paint and you can comment.
Let's do it. Let's hear a vote. Let's hear a
No.
vote from the,
Oh,
from the
dear.
crowd out there.
Okay, well, they're voting. We'll have a question. Any tips on transitioning from water to the soil? That's
Well, we're
what
about to do
Omega
that.
asks. Okay.
We're about to do that. So I did a gradient here that went from my blue to black and white, and just chopped it up with streaks of blue so that it has that feel of ripples in there. And then I'm going to go pure gray. So the sand that I'm about to make is going to be where the water meets the dry sand. And so I'll just pop this up onto here so that we can see the whole thing. Zoom in here. There's my black. It's just going to be black and white. So this part is fast, a little more fun because you can just blast it with paint. I just poured a little bit of extra white on my tray so that I can just really put it on here. And I'm going to do my same little smile shapes just to get the look of sand that's kind of chopped up. Now there's a key ingredient that you can add for the effect of wet sand meeting up with the underwater. So we have two different kinds of colors. So we have an underwater color that's going to be shifted a little more toward the yellow. So we have the blue and the black creating that slightly greener hue. This is just gray. We don't have the blue. The goal is to have no blue in this sand, 0 blue, and have lots of white so that it gets real sunlit looking. I'm going to make it whiter where it comes down. And so right here in this bottom left corner, we'll put almost pure white. And as it dries, you'll see, the any color you add to white gets a lot more visible as it dries.
Switch camera, please.
Okay. How's that?
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay. There you go.
Now they can see what you're doing.
Yeah, okay, very good. And so I'm going to just make it lighter as it comes down. And then as I go into my darker grayer sand by the water, I'll start adding purple. So let's get the darker grayer sand first. So we're going to do black and white again. I'm going to put it on nice and heavy so that I can move it around quickly. And here's where a slight curve goes a long way for adding shape to your what might be waves drifting in. You don't want to do extreme curves because we're looking at this in perspective. So the tendency is to kind of over curve it. So just a slight, see that slight dip? That can be a wave drifting toward me with just a few more colors added in a minute. Okay, I went whiter to blacker. It's getting darker. Now I need to get wetter. So the way I get more wet, reflected light will move a bit more toward the purple part of the rainbow. So red and blue. Where underwater, light coming out might move a little more toward the yellower part of the rainbow. So it's kind of greener. So I've got my greener coming out from underwater. But then here, this will be my reflection on the sand. Red and blue, look at this, watch. Red and blue, I'm keeping it sharp edge where it meets the water. So a real difference, or maybe just a subtlety difference, pattern of color to get the look of reflection. And what that is it's the reflection of the sky. It's the reflection of whatever. So it might be the reflection of a landmass or something. But I'm going to use some shade of more purple color than the sand that I'm putting this on. So here's my red and blue. And I'm just going to keep adding that plus white until I get
They're saying, can we get the zoomed in camera?
Yep. Here, let's switch over. Here we are. So now I'm putting my red and blue on, just right along this edge, and then I'm just going to do a smooth gradient. So again, I don't want to, well, you can wrap it any way you want, try different things, but I'm just going to do a smooth blend where it's just like, if I imagine a line right here, I'm going to make it more purple as it's by the water, and then fades to more just the black and white as it comes in here. So see that slight color change? That's what's going to give me the look of wet sand. So I'm a little bit light on my purple color over here. Now, it doesn't have to be there, I just am deciding that I want it there. So we're going to put that color right here. Look at that pink. I kind of like that. Let's put some blue, just enough to turn it purple. There we go. There we are. Okay, now we've got reflection on that, and then we can just come in here with little bits of a darker purple. So we're down here and mix a darker color. We'll get the shadows of some little bits of churned up kind of white water rolling in. So we'll go a little bit darker on this. So let's go back in here and, maybe we can, well, yeah, that's probably good right there. Let's give you a good view of what's going on here. So I'm just going to make slight curves right here on this edge, like this. And I'll add some white to this, but not so much that I lose my look. Okay, so this curve right here, I'll just take white and put it up on the top of it so that it almost gets rid of it. I mean, I'm aiming for the top. I kind of missed it. Went across the whole thing. So we're just putting white right on top of the purple. And this is a very gray purple. Notice the red and the blue do not make a vivid purple. So that's pretty handy when you're doing something like reflection and shadows. You're not actually looking for a vivid purple. So this soft touch with the brush laid sideways is a great way to get steady, chopped up lines right across there, like that. And then it leaves just a bit of a shadow underneath, so it looks like a three-dimensional bit of foam. So then I'll just take little lines and just itsy bitsy little, maybe a squiggle here and there, but you don't need to slave over the exact shapes of the foam that might be on the water. Horizontal lines really are probably enough to do it. Just a few little horizontal lines with that light, whitish colored, purplish colored white. Is it a whitish purple or a purplish white? I'd say a purplish white. See, just a few little horizontal lines, just to look like some foam resting on top. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. Maybe a few squiggles just for giggles. Squiggles for giggles.
Lee Child's asking if you'll add a rock or two in the foreground because he needs to work on, or he or she, sorry, needs to work on foreground objects.
Okay, very good. Let's do that. Let's put a rock in the foreground. Okay, so I'm going to go over here and do the same thing. We need to go along the shore. So right here will be another little wave. So let's give you the full picture so you know what I'm working on here. We're going to go to my purple color, blue and red, right here. And then we'll go up to the canvas and overlap these. Watch this overlap. This goes in, gets smaller, smaller, smaller as it fades back into the water. This one's going to do the same thing. Overlap. Do that. It's kind of fun to do that. Okay, now white on top of it while it's still just barely wet enough to blend. We'll have this little cross section of foam. I try to build these out of, you don't want to make diagonal lines. You try to build it out of little dots or strokes, something real short, because it messes with your perspective if you make lines that are anything other than horizontal. So try to build any shapes that travel up or down. See how I built those out of little tiny shapes so that the lines are not like a smooth, steady line. When they're smooth and steady, it's hard to make sense of the perspective that way. Okay, then we come in here, we put more of that color coming over this way. Like that. Put more white on top of that. Like this. And then we have the shadow underneath and the bright foam on top, and then we go just a few little lines, little squiggles here and there, coming up to our foamy edge. And I'm just, scattering a bunch of, for the most part, horizontal shapes, because this is a simple painting. We don't need to get super detailed with it. We just want the right colors in place to let the imagination fill in the rest.
They're liking what you're doing there.
Okay, cool. Well,
This looks great.
it's very sad. Thank you very much for the compliments, everybody. This is the fun part of the, well, it's all the fun part, but I worked so hard to set the stage so that when I get to this part, it does what I want it to do. There's all the coloring that comes before this is a key component of making this work. You need this more purple color to look more purple by being in contrast to the more turquoise or the more, maybe it'd be like a brownish gold on some other scenes with a different color palette. But you set it up with dark enough colors and then the right kind of hue so that you get that highlight when the paint hits the canvas. It's the old bag of tricks. I feel like I went to the trick supermarket and just bought it in a can and pulled it out. Hey, it works. Let's go use this in a show. Except that I had to really research to find that can. That's the difference. Okay, now how about a rock? We've got the shoreline in there, and
Well, someone's watching you at 3 a.m.
whoa, man, thank
It's
you.
devotion.
I'm very complimented that that's worth your time to do that.
Also want to say that Ed Tapier, I don't know his
Oh,
name.
hey,
I know
Ed,
he said it's
Ed.
been a while, and I even know who that is.
Oh
So
man, Ed's been a tremendous help to me. Ed over in Florida, I got to, he treated me to lunch when I was out there visiting. Same trip, I also got to see Julia, Epitome Hawk out there. I just gave away her identity. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Good folks over there. Okay, now.
can this be
Well,
practiced on paper? The last thing you were doing.
Absolutely, this could be practiced on paper. Yeah. And you could even be drawn with pencil. Okay, so, and maybe you're talking about the foam that I'm doing. And so that could be practiced on any scrap material. I am always a big advocate for doing practice boards, things you're not going to keep. The repetitive practice is the way I learned. So I'm definitely all for that. Here's a rock. We were talking about a rock. We're going to put it right in there. That's the edge of the canvas right there. We'll get the horizon and the beach in view here so you can see what I'm doing. And I'll give you a zoomed out look for context here. I'm putting that right over on this, right on the right edge. And then we're going to go, just put white somewhere on top. Just scribble some strokes around and get darker as it goes down. And I'm going to be sure not to leave pure white because that'll make this rock be just too bright for the context of the picture. We need to make sure that we get enough black in there that the highlights are not pure white. But it's not, a rock, I don't imagine being as bright as my sky. I need to make sure that my sky looks nice and bright still. And to make this look like it's really in this watery atmosphere, how about we add purple to the black areas? So red and blue to mix into these blacker areas. That'll help my rock to sink into that watery environment and blend with my picture.
Give a couple comments or questions here.
Okay, cool.
Jay says about the painting on paper, he says, I paint on mixed media paper from Michael's. Just a tip there.
Oh, okay, cool. I haven't even done that. Jay's a big help with those. He does all kinds of experimental stuff and then shows the results.
Yeah. And Lee Child says, for rocks, it's lots of light and dark areas? Question mark. Mostly darker shadows.
Yeah, okay. I just use black and white. And so I just think lower areas facing less at the sky. So I just started with my black, and then my next step was doing my gradients of light color from the very top, and then just breaking it apart into shapes.
Okay.
Just breaking it apart into shapes so that it doesn't look like a perfectly smooth surface. So, I get a little dot here, a little dot here, just breaking it apart into little shapes. And then those shapes become more scarce and more faded as I get down low. And then next thing you know, you end up with a three-dimensional, three-dimensional shape popping up. So let's put a wave that's coming in and splashing against that. Even though this doesn't look like a very violent scene, we've got enough information here, we could do it. So let's take the, let's first put a reflection. We could put this going under the water first. Let's just add blue to the color that's already there. I think that's all I need to do. I'll just add blue to this shadowy color right here. And it's just going to grab those colors that are still wet, like this. And now the water line just came up and hit the rock, and you can see the rock under that. And I'll grab a little bit of white just to make some shapes on that. Well, that's probably too much. Let's get black. We don't want bright white under the water. It's got to stay dark. There we go. Same thing. I'm just putting lighter spots where I already have lighter spots there. See, now the rock goes right under the water because it has all that blue water color mixed in with it. And then you can see that straight line. Then we can even put a little white mixed with purple here. It'll mix in. See this purple area? Blue, red, white. I'm going to take that because it's kind of a reflective color if it's got purple and white. It's a reflective color. Then where we can put it is right here. I learned this from Bob Ross too. Little bit goes a long way. Just a little. I was warned. He warned me. He said just a little. Right there. And then we see that rock just kind of barely going under the water. And then I'll put a few little bits of reflection on there too. Let's get that same purple color and just put some reflection in the dark spots. So it's a wet rock.
I appreciate what Edward says again. He recommends watching your earlier videos where you explain the theory of colors. Your analytical approaches to better understand how lighting affects colors is amazing. So,
oh, thank you, Ed. Thank you for saying that. I couldn't have said it better myself. That's true. I've gone to great lengths to make that information available. Thank you, Ed, for bringing that.
And can I ask a question from another watcher, Alexander? He's asking in a previous video about waves, maybe. Sorry, I lost it in the chat. What kind of brush we're using, and then someone else said he uses cheap brushes, which is true.
Cheap brushes, that's the kind. Well, specifically, there are very expensive brushes that are like this. Okay, I'm going to hold it close to the camera. There are very expensive brushes. It's going to autofocus here in a second. Here, let's see if I can get closer.
In the painting, he specifically says in the painting waves part 1. What brush do you remember back then? What brush did you specifically use? But you don't have a certain brand.
It's almost always this kind of brush. No particular brand, but this
Back
is
it up a little.
Taklon.
There you go.
Taklon bristles, Taklon synthetic hair, and maybe nylon. I don't know what materials. It's synthetic, and it tapers to a nice chisel-like point. That's the criteria. The bristles are a lot smaller than a typical contractor brush. It has the heavy bristles for doing like windows and doors. But if I find a brush this shape, then I grab it and use it. And I don't use natural hair. Natural fur has a totally different. That's good. Maybe a lot of the time for
Can you switch back?
Oil-based paints. There we go. So synthetic bristles that have that shape. That's the key component. So right here, we're going to put white and blue. So this is getting brighter and more turquoise as it ramps up into the light. This is a splash. So we want this to go like this. And I'm just going to come, maybe I won't curve it like that. Maybe we'll just go straight down because it's hitting the rock and just going straight up. This. Or maybe maybe if they're, and this is something that'll happen when two waves cross too, just like, what's his name was saying. So here we can put Yeah, they're,
I don't remember either. It's okay.
yes. Yes, but a lot of people have to go by the name of what's his name on this program. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is get lighter and more turquoise as I get higher out of the water. I'm gonna add my little bit of red shadow into the blue down low, because remember that was like my dark water. So where I want it to just be slightly deeper, maybe I'll grab my pure blue. Maybe black and blue would have been a better choice. I think that purple blue is good out in the more pure deep water. But here maybe a black and blue is better, but too late. Okay, so I just darken it. You know, that's the main point. We're gonna darken it right there so that we get a more brilliant turquoise color as it splashes up. And then we're gonna use a much more purple color where that becomes, and that's simple, all we do is add red to the blue that's already there to get the more purple color. And that is going to gradually blend with the blues in order to create a splash. So I don't want to see red. I'm not trying to see a red splash, and well, unless it's like a very abstract kind of artwork, which is not the look I'm going for at the moment. Okay, blue and red to get a purple, but just where I'm imagining this busting apart. So this was a subject that came up recently with someone that submitted their work, how to make a splash look more lifelike. So I highly recommend looking at my How to Paint Water series right on the front of my website. I can't remember what I even named that video. That's terrible. A rocky shore. The one about the rocky shore, because it goes into depth about how to get the look of a splash. But really it breaks apart with more random little spots being pulled apart with little strands as it goes further out from the splash. But then right at the origin of the splash, we have the more direct lines of direction. Direct lines of direction. That's what we done. So we're gonna go like this. So as I go down, I can just reapply blue because I'm heavy on my red. So I'm gonna reapply blue, reapply white, get that turquoise burst in the middle, and then that's gonna blend to the red. I don't want red, I want purple. I'm just getting there gradually. Might have to make this splash really big in order to make use of that extra red I put on there. There we go. Okay, it's starting to look better. Starting to look like the colors I'm after. And now I've lost the white. Let's get it back. Let's grab the white, and wherever I have this more purple color, I'm just making little dots of it here. Let's really let's do this with the brush. Let's go like this, rinse it. Let's get the white and just really just break apart the bristles. We're near the end of the painting, so we can destroy the brush. And we'll go here and I'll dab it and get more of the broken apart little shapes with this. We have to turn it different directions. Okay. There we go. Now if I can just grab maybe my worst looking areas. Is the chat light, is the chat working again? Is it fired up?
I have multiple screens open. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's busy. No problem.
Yeah.
So when I come in and I do my little details, here, I'll zoom in so you can see my teensies. Here, we'll come in here just for a minute so you can see the teensy details. There's a method I use to target where I put the, I look for my most square and straight and not watery looking areas. And that's where I'll first go. See how this kind of looks square, this block? So look, that's where I'm gonna put little dots connecting, coming off to break up that shape. Those are my priority. So if I just keep focusing on those, see here's kind of a triangle, see this little shape in here? that doesn't look like water. So I'm just gonna put little dots obscuring the less watery color. So the more I do that, it kind of exponentially becomes a watery shape as opposed to randomly putting little dots that might leave behind the very non-watery shape. So I get my diverse grainy texture with just that technique that you saw where I'm jamming the brush, but sometimes the look of that texture is not watery because it lacks the smooth flowing shapes. You get too many triangles and squares, too many corners. You don't see a lot of corners when you're looking at waterproofing. So you eliminate the visible corners with dots and strands. And it's not just randomly guessing where to put super tedious little lines. So do you see how this is rapidly becoming a more organic shape because of this method? Okay, now I've got my purple and white intermixed. And so now I'm going to restore the blue that I lost. So I'll rinse. And I'll put my dark blue on again. I didn't intend to lose it, but sometimes that happens. Blue and just a little bit of white, because if I do a lot of white, I'll lose my vivid color. So we want to keep a good amount of blue in there. And go up here into the splashes. And then just little bits. The higher it gets, the more it's just little bits. So see, it's a gradual change from the turquoise blue to the violet blue. Gradual change. So that it really feels like the shadows of the splash coming down there. And just leave just enough unblended lines to give it direction where it's splashing up. See that red patch I'm on? That's a good thing, not a bad thing, because I want that red to blend with the blue and create the foamy shadows, the more purpley shadows that I'm looking for. There we go. Let's get that darker blue and just blend it right up into there so that we see this wave crashing. And then, to really make it look like it's coming out and over, we might put a little bit of extra. I'm going to mix a purple here to put, well, I feel like we've been painting for a while. What are we going on now? I just now realized.
An hour and 42 minutes.
Oh, okay. Time to get this painting wrapped up, isn't it? Okay. I'm going to put a purple shadow just in places to make this splash look like it has a little bit of overhang depth to it. It's coming forward. You know what I mean? Kind of coming forward. I shouldn't have mixed my purple on top of that gray blowout. See, let's get a more pure purple. Right here. Let's get a red and blue here. We'll use this white section. There. A purple that's a bit more vibrant so that we can really see the color. That'll be funner for this splash. Come up in here and just little bits so that we have maybe just the essence of a slight overhang to the shadow that it's coming over like that. And then what we'll do is put a shadow on the rock. So the rock's real bright at the top. You see that? Let's take some blue and make the shadow blue and red because it's reflecting. This is reflected. Nice and dark where it comes up. Here, let's bump it up a little bit to grab those wave colors, those water colors. There, see that? It just submerges it in the water. Isn't that cool? And then we're going to go black and white and blend right out of that. Here's some black. Let's get black and white. Like this, there we go. There, now we have this nice shadow where it's going into that big splash. It's just coming out over the top of that rock now. We get better depth that way. You can also do this. This is fun. Do like this. Grab some pure white. Maybe mix it with some purple. Get the brush nice and wet. I'm going to go like this. I'm just going to grab it like this and flick it at the painting. So we'll go here and just go like this. Just go. we kind of ran out. Let me get a little more water. We need a little bit heavier load on there. The thing's been getting sticky, you know, it's got to be thin enough that you get the splash. Okay, let's try it again. Trial and error here. There we go. You can get excited and overdo this real easy. We'll just stop right there. We'll just stop right there. Okay, let's finish it off. We have to stop this. You know, we'll get more into waves. I know I didn't answer the crisscrossing waves and the wind-blown waves. I don't feel like I'm adequate to give a good answer at this moment, but I do want to remind whoever asked that. That's a great question. I'm going to research and post videos about it. So to finish this off, we're going to put a little sailboat. Let's go like this, because I thought that was a fun part of the rendering. And it's easy to do. Watch. Starts with the silhouette. We just have black and white here. And we're going to go like this. Mix some gray that we can make a silhouette out of. Let some purple get in there, whatever. Just use all of our colors. Just put them all in there. We got black, we've got white, we got blue and red. You know, little bits of that. It's probably going to look better with the blue and red than it does with the, I don't know, gray. There we go. There's a good color. Kind of grayish, purplish, brownish. And then we're going to go up to our canvas. And let's go right up in here. Let's put the sailboat right out there. How about there? That's a good spot, huh? Yeah, that's a good spot. We'll zoom out just a tad so that you can have a good look. This is the ugliest spot on my water horizon, so it's a great spot for a sailboat. We're going to go like this, rectangle, dunk, like that. And this is going to be like a sailing ship. And then I'm going to put a sail. And that's going to be this shape right here. It's going to go toward the rectangle on the right and left sides. And we'll put a little bit of an arch. A little bit of it, I got kind of tongue-tied there. A little bit of an arch on the bottom side of that, like a wind-blown sail. It's going to go up like this. Straight across the top. Maybe a little curved on the sides, you know, like wind is puffing it out. And then we'll put another one above that. I'm going to go back down to my paint, get a nice square brush. I'm really wiping the brush off to get that sharp edge. See that? It's that edge real sharp. And then I'm going up here, and we're going to put another one going the other way. This is just a way. You know, I just noticed this pattern with sailing ships, and I thought it was a real fun one, real cool look to go for. Okay, clean edges. Let's try to get smooth edges to my sails. Like this. Let's put another one on top of that. Like that, and then we're just going to take these little corners and connect them together with sharp little lines. See these? Little line here, little line here. Straight line down the middle for the mast. And then my hand's kind of shaky. And then we'll go like this. Put the bow coming off the front of the ship. And it's kind of coming toward me, so we'll just shoot straight up like this. Like that. Maybe there's a couple sails on the top of that, you know, like little. Sometimes there's extra sails attached to the front of it. And now let's take white. Here's a fun part. You just put little highlights. So we're going to put a highlight right here and put it in a boundary area that's kind of this shape, rounded like this, and then blend. Another one right here. See, if I work on two at a time, I can make sure the brush is running out of the white and then come back. And I don't have to like wipe it off on something and start over. See that rounded edge? I get that 3D look on my sails with that. And then I'll put another, maybe a second mask behind it, just with a touch of the brush. Watch, just a touch. Right there. Just a touch, right there. And then I'll put another. I kind of like this shape. I saw it on this boat and I was like, oh, that's cool. It's like a big old tail on the boat. Some of the boats have this sail shape that goes off the back. It kind of comes up and down like that. And maybe I'll put a little bit of white on that one too. Maybe I'll put, so if the wind's kind of going that way, I'll put white near the bottom of this one. Also just to make the other one stand out against it. There we go. Now I'll put, look at my hand was kind of, this is the power of believable coloring, because all the shakes on my hand put lines where I don't want them, but it looks like interesting parts of the boat to me, so I'm not even going to bother trying to change that. You know, it's like, oh, maybe there's ropes hanging down, maybe it's an old drifting, abandoned ship. I just go like this along a diagonal line. It just creates the look of a shadow coming across the front of it. Maybe we'll put another one here for that little bit of attachment for that bow right there. And then we'll put reflection on one here. Let's grab, we have a little more of the purple, blue, red, darker color because it's on the water. And then we'll go here and just go just little lines coming down, maybe dots, because if the water is very choppy, you're not going to see very much reflection of this. So it's a very calm day on this ocean water if you can see much of the reflection. Let's even put just a little bit right here on this. See this, the reflection areas, I can put just a little bit right there. Wherever I already have reflection, those are the spots where I can put reflection of my boat coming down.
Joe Dale says you may need a beverage after all the talking. And then Mary
Yeah.
points out that today and last week you didn't drink your usual cup of coffee. You always have coffee.
Yeah, but listen to my voice. Doesn't it sound way better than it did back when I was having all that coffee? You know, I have discovered that I have a chronically dry mouth and throat for whatever reason, and the caffeine is no help at all. I've been saving my voice by drinking lots of water and easing up on the caffeine. That's been a big help. Okay, we got that. In the picture, I did have a little green landmass. That'll take like a few seconds to throw that in, and then we'll look at some paintings. So Christy will get some paintings loaded up for us to skim through. This will be the last thing that I paint on this picture here. Down in this corner, you know, I had it in this corner at first, but I don't know, it might be cooler in this painting to put it right here. No, we'll stick with that. That'll be cool. So black. My greenest color is from gray and blue. The gray and the blue mixed together. So we're just going to do black and blue like this. Maybe like a 50-50. It's just something interesting to put in the foreground. And then we're going to put some little bits of white in here. So we'll come down here and
Can I ask a question about the painting before you move it?
Yep.
Uncle 60 says, I can never get the ship's perspective right on my ocean paintings. Any tips?
The ship's perspective. Okay. Lean toward level lines. That is a great starting point. So you can see that my ship is sitting on the horizon, the top of the ship, the bottom of the ship, and the slopes that I put in there are not very sloped. You know, wherever I have a line sloping down, it's just a little, and it gives a pretty dramatic feel of forward backward distance. So the first thing I would try to address is just giving yourself a starting point of more level lines. You're welcome to share the picture, and then we can see if we can identify other sticking points there. Now, I'm just using gray on top of my black blue mix to create some leaves, and they're just, you know, short, broad broad strokes, not blending them too much so that I keep my look and not making them too light to have to maintain the darkness in order to have it look like leaves and not some super bright object equal with the sky or my other bright areas. I'm going to put a shadow on the right side, right here, just to get some three-dimensional depth to it. Just with my black and blue, we're putting some dark colors right there. And then I'll put a bit of a shadow on the sand. So I'm rinsing my brush because I just want to get purple now. So we'll come over here to my purple area. We'll get red and blue. And this will be a great shadow across the sand color. Right here, that's what we need, that purple. I'm going to put that right in here, like this. Let's get a little darker. I went a little bit heavy on the white with that, so we'll get a little darker with the red and blue. Here we go. There we go. Shadow on the sand. I want to be lighter than my leaves, darker than my sand. Maybe a little lighter, let's add white. There we are. We got some good painting submitted.
Yep.
Check out here. Okay. And go like this. Like that. Okay. I'm going to call it. I'm going to say this painting is done for the time being. Maybe I'll put some tiny touches on it before I try to sell it somewhere. But for now, we'll say this was a very fun experiment of using no yellow or orange. We can only use black and white to create the look. And all of the intense blues did a great job of getting that impression in there for us. It'd be nice too to put a few little, I know I said we're quitting, but probably would be nice to get just a few little areas of white water coming over these higher waves.
We have a couple people talking about shaking hands. We know you have shaking hands.
Yep, that's it.
Any tips for that?
Yeah, well, I have experienced a lot of difference to be made. I never did cure the problem, but I did discover that muscle training, using my left hand, doing activity, very repetitive targeting of the canvas like this, gives me a lot more muscle control in the shakes. As long as I'm in motion, learn how to hit your targets and just stay in motion. And that can be a real helpful way of addressing that problem of the shakes while you're painting. And then my diet, diet decisions. Laying off caffeine and sugar is a difference maker. It doesn't make it go away, but it is a difference maker. And so I found that to be very helpful as well. Yeah, I just wanted to see a little bit of white water tumbling in right there. Just a little bit. I don't have a lot of spots where I can put it because I didn't put those long rolling waves. I noticed that you don't really see those white water areas on the very tips too much. The highest points of rolling waves tend to be where it hasn't curled over yet. So maybe you'll see a little bit of white, but not a lot. It looks better when you put them on the slopes like that. Okay, let's stop there. Let's look at your paintings.
Alrighty. I'm ready when you are.
Yeah, okay, what have we got? We'll switch over. We got a painting there.
This was submitted by Hazel from New Zealand. And she has two paintings of where she's from.
Okay, beautiful painting, man. So you're saying that is from New Zealand?
Yep.
Wow, that is impressive.
And this is where she says she lives. This is another one.
Wow, that is a beautiful picture. I love the way you've done your gradient, yellow to orange to blue without getting a green sky. That really takes some conscious technical work with the blending. And the purple in your clouds, I'm always a huge fan of that. Love to see a little bit of purple. Although other people would not call that purple in clouds, but I know you have to consciously get that shadow color just right. Nice work with the lighting. I mean, it just feels like the light is glowing out of that picture. Excellent. Yeah, we can switch.
Okay, the next one is from Sean.
Oh, sweet.
I recognize that. Do you know what that's from, Joe?
I don't know.
Hocus Pocus.
Hocus. I don't even think I ever saw it.
They did a remake this year, so
Yeah.
it looks like it's
Is it
chalk.
a movie, TV show? What is it?
It's a movie famous from like the 90s, maybe
It's a
80s,
movie. Oh,
and then they
okay.
redid it.
Man, I'm not much of a TV.
Not a
watcher,
pop
so
culture guy.
Yeah.
Witches of Eastwick, is that what they're? Oh, is that what they're
Wow,
called?
that
That's
is
what they're
so
called, but it's from the movie Hocus Pocus. Right?
Man, well, without knowing exactly what you're basing it off of, I see very nicely manipulated human expression. That's very
With
fun.
chalk too, I mean, right?
Is that with chalk? It does look like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It looks like chalk. Very cool. Yeah, that's awesome work. The color gradients, they're fantastic.
And he has his Instagram on there. Next Level Designs Art.
Next
All
level
right.
design. Okay, sweet. We'll have to check that out for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's super cool.
Our next one's coming from Elon.
I think that was very smart to get them all on tabs.
Thank you.
Nice thinking.
I'm getting there.
Nice thinking. I would not have thought of that on my own. Very good. Okay, beautiful. Oh, look at that limited color palette. I love that. That's like what we're doing today, limiting the color palette to have an interesting picture.
I wonder if that's a real place.
Yeah, I'm curious about it, but love those subtle kind of mauve tones in the field as it goes back. It makes it really stand out to you so much more when it's the one vivid color that's in the picture. It's super cool. Nice. And just like with what we've been doing, it makes the grays take on a little bit more of a color to them that's opposite to that. Nice.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, this is a collection from Shay. And there's lots of pics, and Shay, I apologize, you had lots of questions.
Okay.
on a couple.
I like your fluffy little blue jay bird. That's good. I don't know what kind of bird it is.
Right?
That's kind of
There's 6 pictures of me, so Joe will have to email you answers later.
Yeah. We're thin on time, but I do love answering questions.
And
Yeah.
here's this next one.
Nice. Look at that. But now I don't know if that's a monarch or a viceroy or a queen or there's the other. But I was way into butterflies when I was younger, so I at least know some names. Beautiful butterfly.
He's asking questions about water, and I can't pull them up both at the same time.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Apologize.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll take a look at that after the show for sure.
Yeah. And someone's asking how we share pics on here, and it's joe@muraljoe.com. It's usually in the chat, and you can send them ahead of time or after.
Yeah.
And usually we try to get to them.
The contact form on my website also goes there. Just make sure you put the subject. Very cool. What is this? This is in an office somewhere.
Or a pet store, maybe.
Okay, that's awesome. Mixed with some 3D work, and the soft blending of the greens in there has some nice depth. Look at the little turtle in the water. Very cool. Look at that. Oh, I see. These are your
I
progress.
think he said he's 40% done with this mural. I do remember that.
Okay. Right. So there's some early progress on it. Nice. I like how you did that in layers so that your log has the different colors on it.
Yeah. There's lots.
Very cool. Yeah, good work. You have some nice 3D effect in that picture.
Okay, we have one last one. And this is from Jacob. He said, improved in his basement. Is that, I think, what he said?
Whoa, Jacob, man. You never cease to surprise me with your stuff. Oh, I'm going to do a search on there for Zolfi's work. I told him we'd look at Zolfi's work.
Okay.
And say, yeah, well,
Talk about something else.
yeah, okay, let's go. Man, Jacob, every time I see your work, you're getting more advanced. If I could just point everybody to, I'm gonna have to come up with like a Mural Joe licensing system so that you can point people toward the answers because you're always implementing them and getting better results than last time I saw.
Nice.
You could like be doing the same thing as I'm doing out there if you wanted. That is so cool, man. Depth in your water, super illuminated underwater by shifting the hue. You've got great color in your gradients on the rocks where you did not lose color in the mid-tones. So yeah, vibrant color in your shadows, in your midtones, making it feel like light bouncing off and three-dimensional. Great.
I gotta say, those clouds kind of remind me of yours. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like,
They look
remind me of
very
not kind of.
lifelike.
Yeah.
I am impressed, man. That is very good. Very good. Now, I don't mean to overly praise more realistic style. It just tends to be what I've painted so much so that when I see somebody coming up on my tail, I'm like, whoa, this guy has listened and implemented, and now he's getting ready to take over my job. Okay.
So switch the screen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Yeah. So we're getting right to the tail end. I remember I had told Zulfi. Zulfi is one of my favorite artists. You got to check out Zulfikar Ali Khan, I think is the pronunciation of his name. And he's across the world doing work, and he never ceases to amaze me with the quality. I saw early work, and then he kept showing, asking questions, and man, it's similar to Jacob here. He just keeps upping the standard every time I see it. So this guy here, here's Zulfi. Yeah, here's a picture of Zulfi. Man, one day we're going to shake hands, Zulfi. I'm just so proud to have anything to do with your progress here. And so he learned this, like in the time of my career. He also watched, learned, and I'm sure that he's gone to many sources to get the info he needs. But the mood, the light, the color, and he's got a job doing this. He's making money painting these for customers, right? It's a great success story. It inspires me to watch it. Man, it's awesome. We can switch to him.
Okay.
This picture is amazing. I mean, there's not a lot I can say other than fantastic work, because I'm just not that good of an art critic. I just like to admire it. Man, this guy's got like paint all over his body. I was like, man, Zulfi, I know that you know how to do skin tone better than that. And then I realized, oh, that guy's covered with some kind of a skin thing. Yeah, awesome work. And the intricate detail. This is a highly stylized thing here, and that I think is super cool. All of the shapes, and that's his realm there. I think it's so well done. Yeah, super good. Yeah, I couldn't be happier to see these. And we're not all at the same points. I remember when I first pulled out my brush and decided I think I've got what it takes to learn this stuff. And my work did not look anything close to what Jacob or Zulfi or other stuff you just showed. I just knew that I could do it because I had confidence in the answers. So we're all at different levels. Keep your heart light and keep the joy in the work. It's not important to be better than the next person. My hope is that you all are doing better work than myself. I just love to be the guy like saying, look at this trick. I just love being that guy. Okay, next Monday, we'll see you again. You can also go to my website. I have things for sale there. It's always a big support to me when you purchase things.
I have one question too. Someone said, is the painting going up for sale? And we are discussing how to do it.
We're going to post all of these. We're going to post all of these things for sale. The piles are starting to grow in the studio, and I love that idea. I would love to make a little bit of extra cash too. So we'll put them up for sale. The last week, painting of that desert scene with no blue, this one, and the ones to come. So thanks for asking that. Okay, we'll see you guys next time once again. So I'm very thankful. It's always a pleasure.